Welcome once again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. I hope everyone is doing well. If you woke up this morning, you are doing well. All right. We're going to get right on into our program on this morning. What we're going to be looking at today is an article that I found. It's called The Marriage Box. And I've often said that marriage, you have to put, it's what you make of it. There's no perfect marriage, but it's what you make of it. And as you put things into the marriage, you put listening in there, you put intimacy in there, you put communication in there, you put trust in there, you put praise in there, you put encouragement in that marriage. That's what you will get out of the marriage. Again, there is no perfect marriage. And again, I always say on the program, marriage is not hard. It's what you make of it. All right. Now, I'm going to read a couple lines from the marriage box. Most people get married believing a myth that marriage is a beautiful box full of things that they have longed for. That's so true. A lot of folks get married, they think it's going to be like you see on TV, where it's, the wife wakes up already made up, and, you both are just physically fit, you both are, look like models, and, everything is just so, the breakfast is so wonderful, and the wife and they're always calling each other honey, and it's just so wonderful. And and they're both just skipping through the house. That's what most people think. They have a myth that marriage is going to be like. Things that they long for: companionship, intimacy, friendship, etc. The truth is that marriage at the start is an empty box. Marriage at the start is an empty box. It's what you both put into it, what you both bring to the table. My wife and I often talked about, how a couple each must bring something to the table. And today we're talking about a box, so is what you both bring to the marriage box. The box is going to start out empty because you both are new at this. You've never been, if you've been married before, you're trying it again, or you've never been married before, and you're working at having a wonderful marriage of communication, of love and trust. Okay. You must put something in before you can take anything out. Anyway, I just talked about that. Whatever you put into the marriage, you have to put it in together. Each of you have to add something or bring something to the marriage. Whether it be you already have your vehicle, or you already have a little funds put aside. You both bring them together and put them together. And we talked about this last week. There's no my money, his money. It's our money. In order for you to have a successful marriage, you have to combine forces, because once you get married, you are a team. You don't see players on a team going in different directions. Everybody goes in the same direction. So you want to make sure that you and your spouse are headed in the same direction. You must put something in before you can take something out. There is no love in marriage. There's no love in marriage. Marriage is an institution. There's no love in marriage. The love is in the two people that come together in the institution. Love is in the people, and people put the love in there. You bring the love in the marriage. That's why you have to make sure that you marry someone for the right reason. And also, you can also say that make sure you leave a marriage or divorce in a marriage for the right reason. Don't go marrying all over the town just because you don't get along with people. Learn to get along with somebody, or if you know them before you married them, that's why you shouldn't marry just anybody. You would not be, going from one marriage to another. Only time that you should really consider a divorce, especially if you're a Christian, the only time you really should consider divorce is if there's infidelity involved, or if there's abuse, any kind of abusive marriage. Then you have the door or opportunity to leave that marriage, because you don't want to be in something where it begins to get physical. So that's the only time. But most people, especially nowadays, they get married for the craziest reasons. They get married for the craziest reasons. They divorce for the craziest reasons, or they split up for the craziest reasons, just because you don't like the way they cook or something crazy like that. And that is not a reason, or just because you had an argument the other day. Learn how to communicate. Everybody has arguments, everybody has disagreements. It's what you do and how you handle that disagreement is where you're going to go in that marriage. And for anyone that are contemplating leaving a husband, make sure you, or leaving your wife, make sure you, because I'm telling you, if you leave them, is what they used to say is cheaper to keep them. Which is also true, and especially if you have children, make sure before you walk away from that marriage without fighting for that marriage. That's how we make it hard, when we don't work toward it. Anything that's not hard, you got to work for it. So you have to work for your marriage or fight for your marriage. If there's none of the serious accusations or any of the serious things that I just mentioned involved in a marriage, you have to fight for. You have to take in consideration your children, and how long you've invested in that marriage, and because I've seen people walk away from marriage after 20 years. That's kind of crazy. What are you gonna do after 20 years? Go find someone just like the one you walked away from, which is in most cases what happened. Because you have got so set and used to that person that you were with. So why leave them? Work it out. Learn how to talk, learn how to communicate with each other. And that is the biggest problem with married couples. And again, no marriage is perfect, so you're not going to have perfect communication. There's always going to be times where you hold back on things, but learn to, when you get that opportunity, or if that opportunity knocks, learn to communicate with each other. Learn to talk things out. And make sure you pick the right time to talk things out. You don't want to say, we need to talk right after you had an argument. Guess what? You're going to start jumping to conclusions, and, so you have to make sure that you are on the same page. Where do we leave off here? And people put love in a marriage. There is no romance in marriage. You have to infuse it in your marriage. Just because you're married does not make it romantic. That's why I always say you have to make sure you know who you marry, because if you don't have any chemistry there, or if you're not bonded together, or if there's not going to be any romance in that marriage. If you have chemistry in that marriage, there's always going to be romance in there. It don't have to be a storybook wedding, or it don't have to be a storybook wedding or storybook marriage. But it's going to automatically be in that marriage. You see so many couples that you wonder why they got married, because you look at them, and the way they interact with each other is like they're two buddies or something, or two friends. And when you're married to someone, all that comes under romance, your friends, your lovers, that all blends in together. That's part of what's going to be in the marriage box. And a lot of people, when you see couples that are having issues, a lot of times it's because, let's face it, a lot of times people marry the wrong person because they didn't listen to someone, or they married them for the wrong reasons. We always talked about that too. Make sure you marry someone for the right reason and not the wrong reason. And again, make sure if you're leaving someone, make sure you leave them for the right reason. Don't just leave them just because you don't like the color of their hair, or you don't like the way they dress, you don't like the way they eat, and crazy things like that. You make sure it's something serious, because again, it's cheaper to keep her. So make sure because once upon a time, you have to realize that once upon a time, when you marry someone, you love that person at one point in time. So make sure that you go back, look back on those, think about the time that you met, and talk about that. If you have nothing else to talk about how you met. And there's a whole conversation there. And share the thoughts and the love that brought you two both together, or brought the both of you together. All right, you have to infuse it into your marriage. A couple must learn the art and form the habit of giving. Let me repeat this again. A couple must learn the art and form the habit of giving, loving, serving, praising. Giving, loving, serving, praising. In a marriage, you have to give in order to receive. In a marriage, you have to be loving. You have to be serving. You have to do things that you don't normally do. And that's why I always say, husbands, there's nothing wrong with washing dishes every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with doing the laundry. Nothing wrong with changing the baby diaper. You have to be a servant. When you're a servant, you learn to do things that you don't normally do. You learn to help your wife out. When you're serving, you're helping your wife out. When you do things that you think a man doesn't always do. Don't stereotype the woman is the one that always supposed to cook. You cook sometimes. If you don't cook, take her out. That's even better. Praise it. Make sure that we are encouraging each other and lifting each other up. Giving in the marriage. If you give, you're going to receive. If you give love, you give good listening. If you give good reactions to critiques in the marriage, don't be always judgmental. Keep encouraging each other. Okay. Serving, praising, of keeping the box full. That's what keep the box full in the marriage box. Is the things that are going to go in your marriage box is check your marriage box and see what you have in your marriage box. Just go over it. And if you're missing something, work on trying to add that to your marriage box. Loving, serving, praising, giving. Make sure you are adding those things to your box. And there are a lot of things that come under giving. There's a lot of things that come under loving. There's a lot of things that come under serving, and a lot of things that come under praising. And all those things will go in your marriage box. And you put in, if you take out more than you put in, the box will be empty. If you keep taking from the marriage and not giving anything, your marriage box will be empty. So you have to make sure that you're equally putting into the box, so the marriage box will stay full, so the marriage will stay there, so the flame will be still high in your marriage, so the communication will be high in your marriage, so you will continue to get along in your marriage and have fun with each other. There's nothing wrong with that. This is the person that you vow to love, but for better or worse, do that. For better or worse, sickness and health, work with each other and learn to communicate with each other. Again, it's not hard thing, but sometimes it's not easy to communicate, but figure out a way to communicate. Figure out a way of listening without speaking. And that's sometimes hard, where you have to just sit there and listen without speaking. Make sure you listen without speaking. Make sure you, if someone want to voice that, if your wife wants to voice her opinion, listen to her opinion. Maybe sometimes she might just want to vent. She might have had a hard day at work, or you might have had a hard day at work, and you just want to vent. You just want to not unload on somebody. You just want to get it off your chest, and then you just move on. Don't harp on that. Don't go back and dwell on old arguments. Don't bring up old conversations that were negative. Bring up good conversations. There's nothing wrong with that. Bring up good times. Don't bring up all the negative stuff. Remember all the good times. This is Pastor Larry, and I'm going to be signing off, and make sure that you keep your marriage box equally full until we meet again on Let's Talk Marriage. Let's talk about it. Let's Talk Marriage with Pastor Larry. Now remember, all the music that you hear on this program is from a wonderful app called Whoop Triggers Plus. It's on the Android platform as well as the Apple platform. Until we meet again, this is Pastor Larry signing off with Let's Talk Marriage. All right.